get my headphones, but we don't, I think they might have died. So, no, right?
You sound kind of echoey, Fallon.
What?
You sound
Chris
kind
is
of.
getting our headphones.
Let me
Oh,
see.
is that what it is?
This is how it's doing a podcast with Fallon. She's running around.
I was like, where am I gonna sit? This is all being recorded too, right? Okie dokie.
Yep. Raw footage.
Last time when I saw that the whole thing gets put out, I said, I'm going to make sure I'm ready before I hit join. So I did all of that nonsense for the last 5 minutes.
Well, I listened like a good student. I listened like a good student. Re-listened to all the previous one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because
Aw.
me, right? I like coming prepared.
Well, we actually were super prepared until the last couple of ones. And then we decided to just let it flow because it worked so much
Yeah.
better.
Also,
So-
I have to change, but I look like I'm in prison, like with this beige wall thing. All right, at least there we go. It looks a little better.
Yes, give us some.
That looks a lot better. Yeah.
You're so colorful. We need the color.
Well, the beige wall, yeah, no more prison walls. All right. So, okay, I feel better about life. We can continue.
All right. So I'll start and I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us what
Sure.
you do. And then we'll go from there. We're super excited to have you here, Fallon.
I'm
You
super
were one
excited
of
to be here.
You were one of our main OG women to women ladies. You were at some of the very first ones. I've learned so much from you just in common conversation with what you do. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell the world what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Well, thank you to both of you to have me on. You two are one of my two. Oh, you're up there in the top people that I associate with, and I really just love and have an energy with and connection with. And it makes me so happy to be here that just to be here. My name is Fallon Widdon, and I just go by Fallon. I'm a wife, a mommy, a friend. I'm an estate planning attorney. I'm a Jersey girl, a lover of all leopard things. And, that's me in a nutshell. And by trade, I am an estate planning attorney. I do help people, businesses, families, professionals plan in case something were to happen to them for the unexpected. So I think that's super important. And I also help businesses. I help form businesses and get them started off the ground running when people have a great idea and they want to start an LLC. So that's me.
That's amazing. And you know what you do, I know for me personally, I was 30-ish when I started traveling a lot. And I'm like, oh, I don't need all that. I'll be fine. And then all of a sudden now you're 45 and you're like, I mean, it's so crazy how fast that, you think, oh, I don't need an estate planning attorney. I'm good. And then here you are and you're behind the eight ball. Do you find that a lot with people?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't even call it behind the eight ball because the truth is I practiced family law before I transitioned to estate planning in 2022, the end of 2021. I knew I always needed a will or something. Once I had my daughter, I had her during COVID, Sophia. I said I should get life insurance. I probably should have a will, right? So it's stuff that everybody knows they need, but I didn't do it. And the truth is, and I always throw myself under the bus, and I say my first estate plan was mine. That's how I practice on myself. The first trust I set up was mine. And that's the best way to learn. But I didn't do it. I'm educated. I'm a lawyer. I'm not on any different soapbox. My stuff can be a mess. My estate planning binder, I've started doing the sections in it, but it's not complete. I always like to tell that to people. You start with getting the information and what it's that you do need. The reality is, parents, kids with, or even individuals with minor children, the planning is a little more important because God forbid something happens to you, your spouse, or just you, the kids can't inherit it till they're 18 or 21. So that puts people in a different type of boat than others. So I don't care what boat you're in, with what lifeboat you're in, right? The men and children, the children just with the mom, right? You got to be in some boat, right? I don't want you floating out and about because that makes things a lot harder. for yourself, for your loved ones. And there's no need to be out there swimming around, floating around like that. I'm here to help you. There's other resources to help. And that's really where my passion is, giving the information, teaching it, speaking it. Because the more you hear it, eventually it clicks like anything else. And I always say I sound like a broken record, but eventually it clicks. People are ready. And then that's when I'm here to help.
Yeah.
You know what I learned, Fallon, when I was separating? I didn't realize, I hadn't even really thought about it in the context of if something happens to me, I don't
Mhm.
have a spouse to leave it to anymore with being divorced. So then it brought forth where I had to set up a trust and exactly what you're
Mhm.
saying, where you can't leave things to minor children. So I had to put all those parameters in place, which through the help of estate planning, that's where you figure that all out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know till I tell you.
Did you
Yeah.
I say to everybody
I
about
love it until
everything.
I tell you. That
Well,
genuine coming on out.
I mean,
and
there's
who would know your estate planner loves all things leopard? I mean, why wouldn't you want her to write your will?
it's taken me a long time, to be comfortable in my skin, to be comfortable with who I am, not only as a woman, a business owner, an attorney, but just in my craft, right? We're always constantly learning. Um, I'm finally feeling like I'm going on 5 years doing this. I'm finally hitting a stride, right? That
Yeah.
this is my style. This is who I am authentically. I'm not for everybody though, right? The leopard print people might not like, but that's okay because my partner doesn't wear leopard print. Or there's other, I've
Right.
learned when people are coming to me, that's something that I never take for granted. And it's truly a privilege to do what I do. Talking about bad things, talking about what happens if you're not around. That's heavy stuff on a good day, right? Just acknowledging that. So when you allow me to take part in that and helping you plan, helping you give options, I put the same things in my trust as I give my clients. This is what my trust says for my kids. I use myself and my family as an example all the time. I'm not giving you something that I don't have or I wouldn't give my parents. I really believe in that. And, this to me is a relationship. If you don't
Yeah.
trust me or like me, how could you help? How could I help you plan for, your future, your kids' future? That is such an incredible responsibility that I don't take lightly. And I always want to put my best foot forward, but also people feel comfortable with me in telling me that information so that I can help. But it's a relationship. I'm a hugger. I always give me a hug. I want that type of relationship with clients because I don't look at it as, oh, I did your trust and I never talk to you again. That's not how I view things. I do my best to try to foster that. And it's
Yeah.
been so enjoyable for me in so many ways that I'm having fun with it still. I love it.
One of the things you said, and I love what you hit on. There's so much that you just said that we could unpack, but that you finally feel like you're in your own stride, like you're in flow. Over the weekend, I was in Vegas and I heard this guy. He was amazing. His name was Christo. If you want to follow somebody,
Mhm.
follow him, Christo. Um, he said he was talking about being different and just doing what you do well, but doing it different. He said, better isn't better, different is better. That's pretty solid when you think about that because in the world today, everything's at our fingertips. If you're like your walls behind you, your bland walls, you you really just kind of melt in
Blend
with the rest of
in.
the crowd. But
Mhm.
the leopard print attorney, like that doesn't blend in and neither does your personality. And so my question to you, Fallon, and this is one of the things I admire so much about you is you blend in with all different kinds of people, all different kinds of groups. When did you feel like that clicked for you? Like that I feel like I'm in flow and I can be completely myself.
Ah, such a hard question to answer. You guys were here for Fallon 2024. I think that's how I approached Women to Women, doing a little bit of a throwback. I stood up in front of a room and I said, I'm trying to improve myself this year. I don't know where I fit. I felt like an awkward teenager at some point. I had a baby back in COVID and then I had Benjamin already. So Benjamin now is 2. So Benjamin probably was 7 months old at the time when I came to one of the first meetings. So here I am. I'm starting a new career in estate planning after leaving family law. Physically, I was heavier than I am now. I was depressed. I felt frumpy because I looked frumpy. I lost who I was. So coming to
Mm.
that luncheon for me was my way of trying to better myself, but also kind of like a plea for help too. Of Who am I? I'm gonna be 37 on October 29th. Our Scorpio twin unites. That I don't know
I
who I
love it when you
am.
say that. You
Right?
say it so cute too.
Or, but it's true, right? Birds and feather.
But
Um,
Fallon, I just remember our lunches last year. You were in a transition with your husband traveling a lot
mm,
and two young children, wanting to put more into building your career in a new
mhm,
state,
mhm.
coming from another state with new relationships to build. I think it's been a journey for you each month. I just know for me and you when we connect, it very much from that first introduction to now. I feel like each month it was you becoming more comfortable with
Yeah,
where you are, even your home
yeah,
transitioning into now your permanent home and your mom and joining you here, moving from Jersey. I just think you've had all the pieces,
yeah,
settling and but you've been open to the growth and
yeah.
the
Yeah.
It's true. It's been the past 2 years have been a journey. I'm still growing, and finally, I feel like I'm hitting that stride. But it wasn't easy. Felt I didn't know who I was before the kids. You really do lose yourself. I lost myself for a very long time, and I put myself on the back burner because I felt inferior in my marriage because my husband has had a career that's gone like this, super trajectory, starting at the bottom, working his way up the corporate ladder, and now he's living his best corporate life, and he's so good at what he does. I'm so proud of him. I've been with him, it's 17 years, married for 7, but I've been with him half my life. And to watch that's been incredible. But for me, having to take the bar, having to retake it, having to move here, having to find a job, having to start over again, and then, find myself in another area, like I'm constantly restarting. And I felt like at, 30, 31, why am I not where you are? Like I've done so much, but it felt like I've accomplished nothing. I'm super open about my ADHD, my perfectionism, my OCD, and that's all me telling me I'm not worthy, and I look at him and he makes so much more than I did. And I just felt inferior. So I was okay to take the back burner, right? To take on all the other responsibility. Because career wise, who knows if I'm gonna make it? And then finally one day I woke up and I go, this sucks. I feel gross. I don't feel like me. Who am I? And I started to get really mad and resentful. And when I found Women to Women, I was like, here's a bunch of women. Hopefully, I was super scared because I hadn't always had the best experience with large groups of women. So I was treading cautiously. But I did. I dived right in because that's kind of how my personality is, all or nothing. I'm so happy I did because I have been blessed so many times over by every woman that I've met in that group. Some have become my closest friends, and some I've just gained so much insight from. But everybody walking away has been encouraging, empowering. You can do this. I remember where you were. It is so uplifting in so many ways that it has encouraged me to become a better version of me and who I am, getting me back to a better version of Fallon, Fallon 2.0 through Danielle with the makeup, through Jen with the clue, with all the women that have just listened to me, encouraged me, supported me, coming to the event and just hang out with me. I'm Fallon first. That's how I approach everything. And everything else is secondary. So really leaning into that has been therapeutic, but also going back to who I was, who I've always been, and I've always had a ton of friends in different groups. I never fit one group. I was on the soccer team, but I also hung out with all the emo kids because I was an emo chick. I had the studded belt. I had the red
That's where
hair.
that leopard print came from.
that's how I'm envisioning it.
I jogged because I don't like running, and I am 5 feet tall. They used to call me LB for linebacker because my signature move was I would go up to the tall girls, I would skirt around them, trip them, and take the ball and run. That was my
Oh,
only move. I
hey,
wasn't the fastest, but I was small and quick, and I just tripped them. So I was a dirty player.
one trick
But
ponies are unicorns too, though.
listen,
Hey, just
I
saying.
got it done. Listen, I got it done. And like, that was my nickname, and that's how I did it. But I hung out with soccer people. I hung out with my band people. I had the smart people because I was in some AP classes. I always ventured around. And I think part of that was because of my childhood, my background, being a chameleon, having to adapt to different situations. I could talk to anybody about anything. And I still am that way. I'm drawn to all different kinds of people, and I've recognized the levels of friends, the
Yeah.
groups. I don't belong in just one group. I don't fit, and that's what I always. I talked a little bit about She Talks. It's in the square box of the world, or if you want to do the round peg or whatever it is. I always was trying to, for a long time, force myself into that. And you don't. Nobody does.
But Fallon, kudos to you to figure that out in your early 30s. I didn't start feeling comfortable and figuring that out to my latter 30s. And I got to be honest, at 43 now, I've just found my stride in the last several months. For you to be in your early 30s and figuring that out, I think that's amazing. Most of us women, at least from my peers who are in their early 40s or latter 30s, that's what I hear over and over, how we all lost ourselves in raising our
Mhm.
children and being a spouse and whatever we were trying to build professionally, just forgetting who we were. And so it's just, for me in the last several months, realizing I don't have to, like you said, show up and present as a certain way. Just be me. And that will attract exactly who I need to attract.
For you, Fallon, and if you don't follow Fallon, you should definitely follow her because her daughter is literally her twin. Like I say that, but and you hear that, but until you see it, it's literally like a mini me.
Mm.
But having that being said, I mean, knowing that you're secure in who you are and you're putting yourself first, that has to go into your parenting. She sees that. And as a woman one day, she's going to learn those behaviors because I think as a woman, I think a lot of my put myself on the back burner, this type, all of that is a learned behavior. Being semi raised by my grandparents who were very Southern, that's what women did. They made dinner and brought it to the table. As a mom of a young woman, that's going to give her so much power because it's going to be learned habits on how to prioritize herself.
Mhm. I was raised by a single mom. My dad was in and out of my life for all my life. He struggled with drugs and was super abusive. And I witnessed things that little children shouldn't witness. And that shaped me and molded me. But also, with the relationship with my mom is unique because of that dynamic is. So me and my younger sister are 7 years apart. And by virtue of just, again, the second child, right? You get a different parent. You're raised by a different mom. And because of the experience that I had as a child, our relationship is very different than her and my sister. But she worked. She was a nurse. She worked part time. My grandparents lived next door to me, for the most part in Brooklyn. And we moved to New Jersey when I was about 10. I started middle school in Jersey. My grandma would come and stay with us, and she watched us while she commuted to New York for work. And my mom always said it's important to have your own money and make something of yourself. Growing up, she was hard. She's Italian. She's from Brooklyn. She's got the accent. She's definitely the tough love parent and um, not as warm and fuzzy as I am, not much of a hugger. I get that a lot from my dad of just being more, I say, touchy feely, but more open with my emotions. She is not, but she was also raised to not be. So I'm very different from her in a lot of ways. Um, but she always tried to instill in that with me. And growing up, it was you're a doctor, lawyer, or you're a banker. She was very strict with education. And what are you going to do? I didn't want to be a doctor because she was a nurse and they always shooed me away from that. I can't add, still can't. And the lawyer thing, I was like, okay, this is cool, right? I like to argue, put me in front of the courtroom, you know, like Judge Judy was my idol,
Oh, no.
Jack McCoy. Oh,
Judge
yeah.
Judy.
Oh, God.
Who didn't love Judge Judy? Just say it how it was.
Just called everybody an imbecile, and that was it.
Was she real though?
Yeah.
She was a real judge, family court judge, and then, she transitioned when she was on TV. Essentially, she became an arbitrator because they agreed to have things mediated before her. So it was a really sweet gig. But yeah, she was in the family courts for a long time. So she saw a lot. And again, that shapes you too in your experience on what you see every day and what becomes important. I want her to see that you can do hard things, especially going forward, that you need your own spot, your own identity. I tried to stay at home and it wasn't for me. I went crazy. Like I don't find that fulfillment. I love my kids, but that's not all of who I am. And that's not enough for me. You can't have it all at one time. You have it all in certain areas at certain seasons. I have brought her to work with me. She knows that I go to hospitals. I talk to her because of what I do. We do talk about death in a way. I'm like, I'm going to a hospital today. Somebody is very, very sick. Mommy's able to help them. I think that's super important. She's come to the office for signings. If I haven't had childcare before my mom was here, Chris was away, she'd come. She has her iPad. I close the door and I go do a signing. But it's important for her to see that because I want her to know that she can do whatever she wants. I support that. And there's just so much you can do. I was, I say pigeonholed, but I was from a certain age. This is what I did. I was
Mm,
always working in law for, like I definitely honed in on this, and only too because I felt I was only good at certain things. But I want her to know that she can do so much. You can own your own business, which is something I was so scared to do, never thought I would do. I cringed at the thought of even doing it, but I want her to see that these things are possible, but it's work. You still got to work hard and grind and hustle. You can do things that you want to do and hard things because this isn't easy. So I'm hoping I'm setting a good example. She is like a mini me. So I try to corral her. It'll be
What
very
about the
interesting.
nails? Are those the nails you texted me last week? Know about the nail game? Have you introduced that to her life yet? Because you should let, if anybody don't know, now they will. Fallon takes her nails very seriously. Very seriously. And always has some cute design or something. She goes to a special place that gets them done just right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
back to your daughter. Is she in the nail game yet?
So she does like nails. My husband does them for her. So I
Okay.
cannot paint nails or file them. So he is a good girl dad that he does that for her. But now she can't wear nail polish because when she's going to GCA, they took it all off. He painted them like last week. She came home and it was all picked off. So I was like, all right, well, you could do your toes, but not your hands. But she likes it, and she definitely will say, can you do this color or that color? And I'm like, well, it depends. Start them young.
Oh, that's what I want to know. If that was something that was getting started there, that's
Yeah.
some real stuff for Fallon.
She's got real curly hair like mine. So yeah, she goes to the same salon I do, uses the same products I do. And she's like, can I go to get my hair done this week? I'm like, no, you can get your hair done before school starts because you get it trimmed. She goes, you go every week. I said, I know, but mommy's hair is different than yours.
shout
More
out,
maintenance is required. Shout out to
shout out to
Darlene
Liz.
Tapper and Liz.
I
Yes.
love it.
I
And
love
shout out
Liz.
to Christina for my nails.
They're
You
all
know, I,
gorgeous.
I've been going to Christina for a long time. So
So you're
OG with
it's so cool when we get to talk to people that and women who were the beginning of Women to Women,
Mhm.
because it was just an idea. Really, when it all comes down to it, we never set out to build a 1900 women community.
Mm.
Um, we really just we're talking about our own need, and then we wanted to create space for every other woman that needed it too. Because go ahead, Nicole.
But we did suspect that, much like us, other women craved and needed this. I mean, I just remember our discussions around that. Like, if we find such fulfillment in what we are doing in our discussions and complementing each other's strengths and weaknesses, that had to exist where others needed it too. So I'm not surprised being on the other end. What are we, 2 years in? That it has grown because it is something I think all of most women crave.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and the synergy. I think about our group all the time, and I've been in a ton of groups before. I've mastermind. I've done all this stuff, but we don't. It's believe us when we say we really don't have drama. Like there is
Mm.
hardly any, unless it's going on, and I'm completely oblivious. Well, that
Yeah.
could also happen. But I mean, I literally am shocked at the amount of women that commune together on a regular basis, and we all flow. And I think it's because we see the vision. And every person that I has come to Women and has stayed, I always hear everlasting results of
Mhm.
having that community for my own self. Right now, I'm working on the tubing trip, which is super, super exciting. So we're doing
I'm
a,
in it. I'm in
I
it.
know.
We're in
And
trouble, y'all. Just a
God, it's gonna be all, you
the
know,
grace of God, we are gonna have
yeah.
such a great time.
So anybody
GoPros.
who's,
I'm gonna
yeah,
tape it.
anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, our last podcast, we had Laura on and she had just gone tubing. I asked about it and I then decided, Nicole and I decided it was time for us to do it. We got this amazing house. We just
Mhm.
secured it. It is like, it's got pickleball courts. It's got a gazillion rooms.
It's 2
20 of us.
houses on one
Yeah.
property. The one that
Yeah.
Ashley found this,
Looks
by the
beautiful.
way. And it is. It's like a great property, especially for what we're putting together with the group size.
Mhm.
So excited.
It's
Gonna be
gonna be
so fun.
awesome. I do relate to because I was listening back to the podcast from Laura and how that all unfolded and how much I am so much like Nicole in that I would ponder. Like I would take all that. I would have planned that trip for 2 years from now. But
It's
the fact
ADHD,
it
Fallon.
is, it is. And
I
I
get
want to make sure.
paralyzed. I get
Totally
paralyzed.
paralyzed. And
Mhm.
you credit too, like professionally, I can make decisions all day long. I'm all my job is
Same,
planning and making decisions, right?
same.
And then, but in my personal life, I struggle. I struggle to buy a bra. I struggle to buy lip gloss. I struggle to buy shorts. I just freeze. And I'm like, these are such good ideas. And I have so many of them, but then they just fall, right? They go into a box. So I'm so happy that the work, that it all worked, that you three, and then here it is. Because you just did it. And that's the piece, that the execution. I'm not the best with the execution part. I always feel like I fall short. So having that balance there, I'm just excited to go. I booked it. I told the husband, I'm going that weekend. Hopefully you're home because I've already paid and not a phone. And that's it. And I'm gone. Don't look back. I'm excited. And then Nicole texted me, Nicole Moritz was like, will you want a room with me? I was like, absolutely, right? And somebody else I met from Women to Women, like a 4-hour
Yeah.
lunch theater, my other Italian paisan, that it's like, it's just so amazing, and it's so genuine too. My one-on-ones, the coffee me and stuff, I've been with these people for 3-4 hours. Like it just happens because we're talking, we're getting to know each other, and it's not forced and you don't feel awkward, it just speaks to the openness of the other person, wanting that genuine connection too, because if you're open to it, it will find you, and I've just been so blessed by it. It's been so enriching. Every person I've met has been just like, oh my God, sister from another mister.